George Harrison's musical taste was never predictable. Even while standing at the center of the most famous band in the world, he carried an ear for sounds far outside the pop mainstream. Long before streaming services and instant access to rare recordings, Harrison spent hours digging through American blues, early country, and obscure folk records. Among the many discoveries that shaped him, one song held a special place in his memory, a haunting piece called Black Cross. Most Beatles fans have never heard of it. The track doesn't appear on any official Beatles release, nor on Harrison's solo albums. Yet those who knew George well understood that Black Cross embodied something vital about his character. To appreciate why, we need to trace the song's shadowy origins, Harrison's personal connection to it, and how it influenced his creative choices during the turbulent years of fame and spiritual searching.
Black Cross began life in the deep American South, long before George Harrison set foot on U.S. soil. The earliest known versions date back to the 1930s and 1940s, traveling orally through African American communities where spirituals and protest songs often blurred together. The song's story, about a black man wrongly accused, condemned, or ostracized, shifted with each performer. It carried the weight of injustice and racial violence, yet it also had a stark, poetic dignity. By the late 1950s and early 60s, folk revivalists were hunting for these half-forgotten songs. One of them, singer and actor Lord Buckley, recorded a dramatic spoken-word rendition that turned Black Cross into an almost theatrical sermon. Others, like blues guitarist Lightnin' Hopkins, added raw guitar lines that gave the song a ghostly presence. These interpretations spread through small clubs and niche record shops, attracting musicians who wanted something more authentic than the glossy pop of the era. George Harrison arrived in America with the Beatles in 1964 as the band's lead guitarist, but his personal explorations quickly went beyond the screaming fans. While John Lennon and Paul McCartney focused on chart domination, Harrison was digging through record bins, drawn to obscure blues and folk LPs. Somewhere in those hunts, accounts differ whether it was a New York shop or a private collection in Los Angeles, he encountered Black Cross. For Harrison, the song's haunting narrative and minimalist accompaniment were a revelation. He was already fascinated by music that carried a spiritual charge, whether from Indian ragas or Delta blues. Black Cross combined those impulses, a meditation on injustice delivered with near religious gravity. Friends recalled him playing the track for late-night gatherings, letting the room fall silent as the story unfolded. By the mid-1960s, Harrison was wrestling with the contradictions of global fame. He craved deeper meaning but was trapped in a pop machine. Black Cross spoke to that tension. The song's themes of persecution and moral courage mirrored his own frustration with superficial celebrity culture. It was not a protest song in the traditional sense. It was more like a parable. The minimalist arrangement, often just voice and guitar, also appealed to Harrison's evolving aesthetic. While the Beatles were building complex studio creations like Revolver and Sgt. Pepper, he admired music that could command attention with the barest resources. In conversations with close collaborators, he cited Black Cross as proof that a song didn't need layers of production to carry profound weight. Although the Beatles never recorded Black Cross, traces of its mood seeped into Harrison's writing. Listen to the somber atmosphere of Within You, Without You, the moral questioning of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, or the stark honesty of Long, Long, Long. Each carries a sense of quiet confrontation that parallels the feeling of Black Cross. During the White Album sessions, when tensions were high and egos clashed, Harrison often retreated to acoustic sketches steeped in folk tradition. While other members pushed for rock experimentation or commercial singles, he was sketching songs like Not Guilty, a biting commentary on personal responsibility that echoes the narrative weight of Black Cross.
After the Beatles disbanded, Harrison's admiration for Black Cross became even more visible. His 1970 triple album, All Things Must Pass, a sprawling mix of spiritual anthems and stripped-down confessionals, reflects the same duality of strength and vulnerability found in the old folk tune. Harrison's slide guitar style, warm yet mournful, also shows the bluesy undertones of the music he loved in the early 60s. He rarely covered Black Cross publicly, but he often mentioned it in interviews when discussing songs that shaped his worldview. To him, it wasn't just a piece of music, it was a lesson in humility and moral clarity. The timing of Harrison's fascination is crucial. In the United States, the civil rights movement was confronting entrenched racism, and folk music was a rallying force. Songs like Black Cross carried a coded message of resistance. For a British musician observing America's struggles, the song offered a window into realities beyond the insulated world of Beatlemania. Harrison's empathy for those struggles influenced his later activism. He organized the 1971 Concert for Bangladesh, one of the first major rock benefits for humanitarian aid, and he consistently used his platform to highlight issues of injustice. While Black Cross didn't directly cause these actions, it reinforced the moral compass that guided him. Despite its significance to Harrison, Black Cross never entered the mainstream. Part of the reason is its format, a spoken or half-sung narrative that resists pop conventions. Another is the difficulty of tracing its authorship. Folk music often lives in a gray zone of oral tradition, making it hard for record labels to package and market. For casual Beatles fans, the song is a footnote. It lacks the immediate hook of something, or the cultural mythology of Here Comes the Sun. But for those who look deeper into Harrison's influences, it offers a key to understanding his lifelong search for music that transcends entertainment. Harrison's journey toward Indian philosophy and meditation is well documented, but Black Cross represents a parallel path. Where sitars and mantras pointed him east, the song's raw depiction of suffering connected him to the universal truths of human struggle. It reminded him that spirituality isn't limited to any one culture or instrument. This blend of East and West defined his later career. He could perform a bhajan with Ravi Shankar one night and jam on a 12-bar blues the next, finding the sacred in both. Black Cross reinforced his belief that all music, when sincere, points to the same higher reality.